Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this triple committee session. For this afternoon, we have the GO Committee, HHS Committee, and our ENC Committee. We have one item today, which is an FY26 supplemental appropriation, Department of Health and Human Services, School Health Nurses, Head Start nurses. The source of the funding is General Fund Reserves. I'm going to first turn it over to our council staff to walk us through the packet, and then we have lots of representatives from HHS and the budget team here at HHS to answer any of our questions. So Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez, you want to get started?
Sure, of course. Good afternoon, council members. I want to start by thanking our colleagues at DHHS and OMB for their time and effort in answering council staff's questions and information requests. As the chair noted, on November 4th, 2025, the county executive transmitted a supplemental appropriation request totaling $252,274 due to a grant reduction affecting the Department of Health and Human Services and their school health services, specifically for 5 contractual nurses that support our Head Start program. The county's local early childhood services office within the department serves as the primary Head Start federal grant recipient here that delegates the funding to Montgomery County Public Schools to provide that pre-kindergarten Head Start programming. The Table 1 on page 2 provides the 25 to 26 school year sites where you can find the Head Start locations, the program type, and the number of total seats. Last year, as we discussed in our budget discussions, the county had to resubmit and recompete for that federal Head Start grant. And that was under new and updated federal guidelines that required that only 50% of the grant award be allocated to a delegate agency, in this case, MCPS. As a result, MCPS and HHS collaborated on an innovative proposal for the Head Start program that to reflect those updated federal guidelines, as well as some of the county studies on early care and education, specifically the Child Care Supply and Demand Study. From that, the approved grant proposal includes a shift of focus where MCPS will continue providing Head Start pre-kindergarten, but originally last year they provided about 648 seats, and now it's 450 seats. That's in part due to the focus and transition to more full-time day seats rather than part-time, as well as the ability for community-based providers to apply for funding and provide Head Start services for children birth to 3. And those applications opened in January, so we can get a bigger update later in our budget work session discussions. On page 3, you can see details of the executive's request. The table 2 in the middle of page 3 provides you a comparison of fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26 funding, specifically supporting the school health services Head Start staff. In 25, and operating expenses. In 25, there was about $1.4 million allocated, and in fiscal year 26, $1.2 million allocated. The executive's transmittal did note a 43% budget shortfall reduction due to the grant reduction, and that is reflected in the grant funding totals from 25 to 26 of about $707,000 to $403,000. And so why is the school health services involved with Head Start? Well, Head Start mandates the ongoing delivery of health services in defined dosages for all enrolled Head Start children. That includes immunizations and medical and dental care and even ongoing chronic condition management. DHHS notes that the staff that support Head Start primarily focus on the Head Start programs and students. However, some hours are also dedicated to the other pre-kindergarten classrooms in MCPS, and you can see the total list of pre-K and Head Start classrooms at the final circle page on 17. And you can also see a detailed description of the roles within school health services that support Head Start on circle page 17 as well. The table 3 on the top of page 4 provides the staff breakout of school health service staff supporting Head Start, and the highlighted row at the bottom is the 5 contractual nurses that the supplemental appropriation request would support. Last year, DHHS utilized the 3 merit nurses and about 7 contractual nurses for the 648 students enrolled. This year, with the 450 student limit, it is now only requiring 5 contractual nurses. So what are the fiscal and service impacts? So as noted, that this fund is utilizing undesignated general fund reserves. So we know if it's approved, that would impact the total reserves amount for the final fiscal year. And for your reference, in fiscal year 25, the council approved about $5 million in undesignated general fund reserve appropriation requests for the Department of Health and Human Services, which was about 7% of the total pot of $74 million utilized of undesignated general fund reserves. In addition, the Department of Health and Human Services note that they temporarily reallocated internal funding to maintain these nurses from the beginning of the school year. And if without the funding for the nurses, that there could be service reductions at 9 schools listed on page 5, as well risk potential non-compliance status with Head Start mandates. So a few points of consideration for the committee prior to making a recommendation for full council. The first is that with the supplemental appropriation, if it were to be approved, the total amount of funding supporting Head Start staff and school health services would be about $15,000 higher than in fiscal year 25, despite the decrease in enrolled students. Council staff will note that a majority of these costs, as highlighted on Table 2, are for personnel, and a majority of their personnel are merit. So we have the annualization of compensation increases and retirement and benefit adjustments as well. Second is that the Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice does find that the supplemental appropriation advances racial equity and social justice, primarily because of the students it serves, both in income needs, and most of them are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, with the previous school year, 65% identifying as Hispanic, 23% identifying as Black or African American, and 6% identifying as Asian. 2 final points for the committee's consideration is that, as reflected in the fiscal year budget work sessions, as well as these appropriation requests that we received during the year, the county continues to face federal and state grant reductions. And as former council president and current GO chair, Councilmember Stewart had requested the county executive's holistic grant approach to addressing these reductions, rather than just individual mid-year appropriation requests, specifically those supplementing with undesignated general fund reserves. At this time, we have not received that holistic approach, so in light of this appropriation request and the upcoming fiscal year 27 budget work sessions, the committee may want to request additional information on the executive's approach. And finally, as noted before, GHHS stated that the 5 contractual nurses are currently funded by temporarily reallocated internal funding. Council staff had requested additional details on what programs and services would be affected and what the impacts would be if this funding was not approved. In addition, we also received this transmittal in November of 2025 with the reductions known in July 2025. So the committee may benefit from understanding the greater context of the potential cross DHHS internal funding reductions and the request delay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez, for an excellent packet and presentation. I want to see if our director of HHS would like to address any of the issues raised or add any other context.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. All of the trifecta that's joining this afternoon. Great read, Ms. Nicole Rodriguez-Hernandez. The most salient point for me, committee members and chairs, is that we continue to try to make those adjustments. You asked me repeatedly, how can you help? This is where we need your help to address those grant funds that need to be adjusted. We have no control over the federal or the state mandates or any other policy that speaks to support and or needs for at-risk and underserved populations, especially children, where we know where we need the support for the most formative learning practices. The team is assembled here this afternoon to provide you with those granular level details that I know you're going to ask about. How do you realign the funding? Why do you need more school health nurses based on the ratio? How do you support a reduction in the percentage of grant costs that were previously available? Some of those answers are readily available. Some we just don't know. But we will do our best to provide those responses. I'm going to turn my mic off now and let the team do the rest of the talking and answer your questions. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to jump in at this point before we start questions, or? No, they're ready. You are ready. You're all here. Well, thank you again for all being here. I think before I turn it over to the my co-chairs and other committee members, I think that I will say, won't bury the lead. Obviously, I'm going to be supportive of this supplemental. The need is great. I think one of the broader questions is, as we're looking at what is happening in the pulling back of federal grant money and thinking about how we're prioritizing and requests, if there is any more information you all can share with us as we're looking at other supplementals and other things coming over, particularly to help community members who are in those most vulnerable positions.
Sure, I could talk about the holistic strategy. My name is Grace Pedersen from the Office of Management and Budget. These grant reductions have not been made all at once. They come in piecemeal, and we're reacting to them as we become aware of them and also understand the impacts on the county. We look at things like whether the amount of the reduction is known or is it a projection based on other factors that are uncertainties. We look at the timing in the fiscal year and whether there's time to adjust or if something like a supplemental is needed to prevent an interruption in services. We look at whether the services are required as a result of a legal mandate or if it's something that the county has been providing but it's not legally mandated. We look at whether there will be service interruptions for currently served clients and whether those interruptions could result in like more critical risks like risks to life safety or health risks, interruptions in health services. We'll evaluate whether there's the results of the grant reduction would result in a disproportionate harm to underserved communities in the county. And finally, we would look at the program overall and see if there's other program-specific factors that should be considered in evaluating a supplemental. So those are kind of the factors we consider.
Great. So I very much appreciate that because that's something we've been asking for exactly that kind of information on how all of these are being evaluated. So I appreciate you giving us that update. My next question is, again, understanding these are coming in piecemeal, how, with something like this supplemental, as we move forward, if we're backfilling this, how are we going to approach this with the FY27 budget?
We can't comment on the FY27 budget much right now, but we would continue to evaluate all the factors I just listed to determine the effects of service interruptions and how many Head Start students we expect to enroll in the upcoming school year. I'll also defer to HHS if you want to add any comment.
Sure, I'll take it. So part of these supplements that you're receiving now, Councilmember Stewart, we've had in process for some time, and they're just being presented to you. So although they are mutually exclusive from what you may or may not see in the FY27 operating budget, we continue to analyze and present information to the council, soliciting the support that we need based on the information that we have available. Now, keep in mind, I will say this, that if we prepare a packet for OMB based on the executive branch's recommendation and our input, that may change based on the political climate. That's just the reality of our world. So those are some of the challenges that we have, and we continue to adjust and revise and present to council the best supplemental information that we have available during the time.
Cool. I'll turn it over to my co-chair. This is the co-chair of the chair of HHS to start us off.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bridgers and team for sending this over. I know that this is all about being in compliance with federal law and ensuring that we have the appropriate staffing to student ratios. We are, as we heard, trying to expand operations and capacity for more full-day pre-K and ensuring that they have that experience where they're getting their vaccinations, they're learning how to take care of their oral health and the eye checks. We want to ensure that no student is overlooked, and this is going to ensure that there are no gaps with supporting our students at these earliest stages. So, it's going to be easy to support. I too had questions about FY27. I initially had questions about why this wasn't funded in FY26, but I cannot forget that we're working with an unpredictable federal government that is not a partner in the work that we do here at the local level. And so it's important for us to always be prepared in how we are being fiscally responsible so we can continue to be flexible and adapt to the ever-evolving needs of our students. And so I'm ready to vote unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Sales. I'll turn it over to Chair Jawando now.
Thank you. Appreciate the information. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez. Just if someone could speak to the content, if you're watching this as a normal person, as I like to say, the millions watching at home, you might want to know, like, okay, well, we're anticipating we have a decreased enrollment. but it was mentioned the salary annualization is one part of it. But is there any more context you can give around what we expect the enrollment to be going forward based on what we know today? I'm looking at Ms. Anais. I was trying to get you. You see, I was looking right at you.
Thank you. Jennifer Arnaiz, Senior Administrator for Early Childhood Services. So the grant does mandate that we serve a specific number of children. And so our goal is always to be able to serve that amount that we had submitted in our grant and that was approved. Of that, we have a total of 450 children in which they're in MCPS, and we have 75 that are in the community-based. Our goal is to always strive to be at capacity. So our strategy is to continue to look at our most vulnerable populations and to be able to serve those children. So really, it's dictated by what the grant has required of us. Will there be challenges? Perhaps, but as you've heard already several times, we are reacting to what is being sent down at the federal level. Many times there are announcements made and we have not received the guidance. I'm still waiting on DEI guidance. I'm still waiting on guidance in terms of immigration status. And so
Right, that's a big one coming
Those
down
are big
the
ones.
pipe, yeah.
They've been stated, but they're not enforceable at this point. They're still actually being litigated at the Supreme Court. So for now, we march forward as we have been, which is to be at maximum capacity in those seats. We do have to recognize as well that there is a fear in our communities. My community is fearful right now. People who look like me or speak like me, we're afraid to come out. And so that is impacting the school enrollment. We are about to launch our community-based 75 seats. We have a group of eligible programs. We have not made a final selection, but from the pool, they're all ready and willing to be advocates for our community. So our goal is to be as at capacity or as close as possible.
Thank you for that, and I was hoping that's how you'd answer it. I mean, and please, we know we've seen horrible videos of things related to child care centers and as far as workers and families. I think as this is for people up to 300% of poverty. This is from folks who need this the most. We need to have it for everybody, but folks really need these seats. We're already down from 650 a couple last year and down to 450. We want to make sure that there's opportunity. So please keep us posted in real time. I know we will talk about this again during the budget. But as you hear things, I know things are moving quickly, but obviously we want to keep these nurses on board so that we can keep delivering services to our children and families. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez-Rodriguez, for your information and for explaining that there was a reason why the application had to be done the way it was because of the no more than 50% rule. And I know, it was noted that there's a 43% reduction in the grant award. Was there anything, or can anyone speak to the rationale or the reasoning given back for that decision to the extent that there was one provided? I say that knowing, again, we're operating in some strange times.
So no, this was just a decision made by the federal government to institute this new policy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then I know Chair Stewart had previously asked for the county executive to come up with a strategy for how this was gonna, how we might be dealing with these things as opposed to them, again, I appreciate you, Dr. Bridgers, for saying like this has been in the works for a long time, and it's just like now we've gotten several all in a row because things have been building up. But that doesn't really change the fact that we're still waiting on that strategy, as far as I know, not just HHS related, but executive branch wide, for understanding how to prioritize, triage, and mitigate, because we can't fully replace, right? So that's something that's critically important for us to all know, and our colleagues who aren't here on this triple committee, because you got most of us here. But as we head into budget season and know what is that strategy moving forward, because right now we aren't clear on that. I do support sorry, I should have said that first. I'm going to support this, but those are things that I think we need to know, because the snowballs are picking up and rolling down the hills faster now, and we need to have that clear vision.
And just picking up on snowballs from the earlier conversation, the theme today. I'm not seeing any other lights. Anything else from our Department of Health and Human Services or OMB? Nope. All right, not seeing it. All those in favor of recommending this to the full council, please raise your hand. That is unanimous of the three committees. Safe to say, I think it's going to pass full council, given the representation here. So I just want to say thank you for all the work, and we all know how important this is. Again, Ms. Rodriguez-Hernandez, excellent packet and presentation. Thank you to OMB, and it would be great if what you said was put in a memo to us, that this is the approach that is being taken, so that the council and the public understands here's how we're looking at when the federal government is clawing back stuff. So thank you so much. Appreciate all the work. And we are adjourned.